Hi, this is Judy Crow, and I want to show you how to paint this landscape that you see on the screen. But I'm going to use the Zorn palette. Anders Zorn was a famous Swedish painter, and his palette consisted of three colors: black, a medium red, and yellow ochre, plus white. And I'm going to tip my camera down so that you can see my workspace down below. I've got some, there are my colors: black, yellow ochre, and that is permanent red made by Daniel Smith. And then my white is made by M. Graham. The middle container is my mineral spirits. That's odorless mineral spirits made by Gamblin, called Gamsol. And then, of course, my brushes and my paper towels. So let me bring you back up here to my workspace. I have a little 6x8 canvas panel right here. This is called, this is a linen panel. It has linen glued to just a piece of gator board panel, and it is made by Source Tech. And this is Clausen's 166. It's an acrylic primed linen. I like the acrylic primed because it has a little more tooth. I've already taken the liberty of doing a slight sketch of this tree. Now, unfortunately, the photo is a little too dark. There's not quite as much dark in the original photo in these areas right in here, as you see in the photo. But hopefully you'll get the gist of what I'm doing anyway. And I want to get a good design. I felt like this photograph had a good design. I do a lot of outdoor painting. Most of my landscape work is outside, but I do paint some from photographs as well. So let's get started. Like I said, I took the liberty of going ahead and sketching this on, just the big shapes. And I made a medium value gray. It's kind of a warm gray that I am going to, that I used. I just used my primary colors, which are red, yellow, and I'm using this as my blue, the black. That's what Anders Zorn did. Zorn did a lot of figurative paintings, and if you look at them, you should Google him, but you would never guess that he just used those three colors, but he did. So let's get started here. I'm going to clean off this area so I can mix a little bit easier, better, keep my colors a little cleaner. And let me just secure my palette a little bit better before we get started. Okay. So, like I said, I went ahead and took the liberty of doing a sketch. My main goal after I do a very rough sketch is to think about my design of the painting. And that's what I'm going to do here with, this has a real strong design with all these trees back here, this large tree that breaks this section up. And there's a nice shadow plane that goes all the way across the canvas there. So what I'm going to do is start by putting in some shadow planes. And to make my green, I'm going to use black and yellow ochre. And that actually makes a very nice medium value green. But I need it to be a little darker for my shadow areas. I'm going to add a little more black into that. And just put in my big shadow shapes. Now, there's a road that's coming up in here. And going across the road, it's not quite as dark and it's a lot bluer than the shadows on the grass. So let's just add a little black up here and a little more white to that. You'd be surprised how blue, just black and white, that gray will look once we get this thing done. Hopefully, that's the goal anyway. Okay, so that's the shadow plane on the horizontal plane here. Now I'm going to do my upright planes using the same colors, very quickly getting in this big shape for that tree, that big important tree. This is my main character. In all paintings, you really need a main character, somebody that says, hey, look at me. I am your main actor. And the tree comes over this way a little bit, like that. But the sun is coming from this direction and hitting this side of the tree. So I want to paint that a little higher in value over here. Now I got into my light planes. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to soften any edges or just putting some plain light shapes in here to indicate my lights. Okay. Now, squinting down, those shapes in the back, those tree shapes in the back, I want to make those a little bit lighter and grayer, because that will give my painting a little bit of perspective. They're not that far back there, but so I'm not going to make them really light, not this light, but big abstract shape. And I may come back in there later and put some dark accents. Again, there's some darker shapes back in here that are pushed back even a tad more. Now there's some grapevines here in front, right here, and I will lightly indicate those as well. They have a little more light on them. Put a little touch of white in there. Okay. There's also a shadow plane of some of those grapevines here in the grass. So hopefully you're getting a feeling of distance. it's really more about the value of this stuff than it is the color. Now, yes, value matters, but I mean, yes, color matters, especially if you're a colorist, but as you can see, this is reading, even though I only have basically 2 colors on there, black and yellow ochre. I want to bring that just a few touches of light shapes on here. Not going to soften any edges yet. And I see some of that in here as well. Okay, now let's think about any other shadow planes that are in this composition. Right now we've got a real good feeling of no tan, which is light dark connectivity in here. So now but actually there's where this road comes out like that, there's some little touches of shadow where the road meets the grass. Okay, let's go ahead and put in our sky. Now this is actually a very blue sky in the photograph, but we mainly are concerned about the value of it. This video is basically for the class that I'm teaching right now, my online class. I wanted to show the class how you can paint. Oops, sorry about that. Screensaver came on the TV. So the values are the most important thing when describing objects. So now let's put in our grassy areas and our road. Now that road has a lot more warmth in it. So I'm going to use yellow ochre and white. Let's put a touch of red in it and bring some of this black in there. Again, I'm not softening any edges at this point. Just big, abstract, simple shapes. I'm not fussing with it. And I'm getting plenty of paint on there, not fussing with it. Very important. Now I can see in my photo that I need to bring these back section of trees down a little bit here. Okay. And I'm afraid there's a glare on the photograph. Let me move that over there. Now you can see the photo a little bit better. All right, now, which I have to ask myself, which value is lighter, which value is darker? Well, my upright planes are darker. In the book, Guide to Landscape Painting by John F. Carlson, he says all of your upright planes or your horizontal planes are going to be darker than your your vertical planes are going to be darker than your horizontal planes. And why is that? The reason for that is your horizontal planes, your ground plane here, is catching light from your light source, which is the sky. Right? So the first thing that is the darkest are your vertical planes, all of these tree sections. And then your next value up is going to be your horizontal planes, your ground plane. Your lightest plane is generally the sky, unless it's a stormy day or there's some atmospheric condition that's causing it to be darker. I generally tell students to just paint what they see. Okay, let's just test that. That's too dark, isn't it? It's too dark for that horizontal plane. I do want to try to get a green here as close as I can. This little 6x8 is just to demonstrate that 3-color oops, I need to get some more white out. That 3-color limited palette. You can actually paint a portrait with this. I have done that. Maybe I will send a photo of the portrait I did with this limited palette. Real simple shapes. Okay, I've got light planes in, dark shadow planes. I want to just add a few highlights and a few dark accents. So these grapevines here have a few highlights. I'm just going to use some yellow ochre by itself plus some white. Just touch a few highlights in there. I could add a little bit red in there to warm those up. Let's just touch a few highlights up on my tree as well. just to give the feel and direction of the sunlight. Now there are a few lighter lights on these background trees as well, but I want to be very careful not to overdo that. And that's too spotty. I don't want to get rid of my big abstract shapes. That is too important. Okay, now a fellow by the name of Kwang Ho, who's a very fine oil painter, wonderful oil painter, says that many times we start putting in little lights when what we really need are some dark accents. Tree trunk. I will post a photo of this painting once I'm finished with it. It's so valuable to learn how to paint with minimal colors, a limited palette. So valuable to learn that. Whether it's just red, yellow, blue, or red, yellow, black, you can mix it up. You can use a different colored yellow. You can use a cad lemon or something equivalent. I'm actually going to try to see if I can get away from the cadmiums because of health reasons. But hopefully you can see. So you can mix up your colors and so, okay, we really have a feeling of light and shadow, right? I see on my photo that there's a shadow coming across, and we could put that in, but that looks like it's from maybe a electrical line or something, or maybe the fence. So I'm thinking I'm going to leave that out. But I'm going to add some red into this black, some more yellow, get a little bit of a warmer dark, and maybe put in some of these fence posts in here. Again, that's really not necessary. I think I'm going to take that out. I really love simplicity myself. Okay. That's all I'm going to do with this. Just a quick demonstration on how you can paint something with just 3 colors and still get your feeling of light and shadow. I would encourage all students to do this, because once you learn how to do this, you can just about paint anything. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you next time. Bye.